our reading skill for today. I mean, it's going to come up a lot this year. It's a big one. It's theme. So each fiction story is going to have a theme. And if you look right here, you can see that I've written the word theme and then I've added something else. The theme of the story is the message. That's a really good way to remember it because you've got the word theme. So the theme is the message. It's the message in a story. And the way you can kind of figure it out is you can answer the question, what did you learn from this story that you can apply to real life? So some things about theme. Theme is never, ever, ever going to be specific to a story. So if you're reading Because of Winn-Dixie, and your characters are Opal and Winn-Dixie, your theme's never going to say Opal or Winn-Dixie. It is never going to talk about specific characters, specific stories, specific places. Theme is very broad. So the theme of a story is going to be something that you can apply to your life regardless. So it's not specific to your characters. It's not specific to the story. So you should never, if you want to come up with a theme, it shouldn't be the theme is Opal was nice to Winn-Dixie. That's not your theme. It has to be something that you could apply. You could take the theme and apply it anywhere in your life. So some example themes are treat others the way you want to be treated. They are working hard always pays off. Sometimes the easy thing isn't the right thing to do. So these are all potential themes for stories. So we're going to read a couple short stories and we're going to think about what the theme could be. It could be don't procrastinate, don't put things off. It could be appreciate what you have and don't want for what other people have. So just life lessons. Notice in none of those did I give a character's name or a story's name. So I'm going to read a story and then we'll talk through what the theme could possibly be. Dan, why don't you get started on that science project tonight, Mom said. Mom, it's not even due for 2 more weeks. I have plenty of time to finish it, Dan replied as he sat on the couch watching TV. But if you get it done now, you won't have to worry about it, Mom reminded him. Don't worry, Mom, I'll get it done, Dan answered. 1 week later, the project was still unfinished. When Dan's mom reminded him to get started on the project, he promised to start on it the next day. The next day, however, Dan became very sick with a severe case of the flu. He spent the next 3 days in bed. He finally felt better the day before the science project was due. At 9:30 p.m., Dan was putting the finishing touches on his project. However, he still had to write a report. Ugh, he groaned. I have learned my lesson, Mom. I will never do this again. So I want you to think about what lesson maybe it was that Dan learned. What lesson could Dan use to apply to the rest of his life, or can you and I use to apply to our lives now? So it wasn't really a thing about how you should treat people. We didn't see that. It wasn't really anything about not wanting what other people had. But it could be that when you're given something that's going to take time, get it done as soon as you can. Don't put things off. That could be your theme. Dan put it off. Then Dan got super sick. Then Dan had to be super rushed. If he had done it a week and a half before, like his mom said, he wouldn't have even had to worry about it. So your theme for that story could be don't put things off. Get them done. Work early and enjoy your time later. Now your theme is normally hidden. It's not going to come right out and say the theme of this story is. You've got to infer. You've got to use some of your reading detective skills to figure out what the theme could be. So we'll read another little short story. Your grandparents called and said they're going to visit tonight, said April and Ashley's dad at dinner time. Let's wait and have dessert until they arrive. We can have some cookies. April groaned. I don't want to wait. I want my dessert now. Well, if you choose to have your dessert now, you won't get any when your grandparents arrive, her dad said. I know, April replied. She went to the cupboard and helped herself to 2 cookies. I'll wait for Grandma and Grandpa, said Ashley. When the girls' grandparents arrived an hour later, they announced that they wanted to take the girls to the nearby ice cream shop for a treat. They knew the girls loved going there. Ashley hasn't had her dessert yet, so she can go. April already had her dessert for the night, though. She'll get to stay home with me, their dad explained. April sadly watched out the window as Ashley and her grandparents left for the ice cream shop. So I want you to think about what maybe the lesson that April learned was. Not really anything about putting work off, not really anything about how you treat people. But do you think maybe she learned to be patient? Your theme can be that. It can just be patient. I think that's probably something that April learned that she needs to work on. Some themes can be, don't judge a book by its cover. Just because somebody looks one way doesn't mean they act any different than we do. So that could be a possible theme for some stories, not the one we just read. It's just one that I thought of. So we will read another one. Easton, we decided to cancel our trip to Disneyland in June. We're going to use that money to fly to Oklahoma and help your grandparents right away. The tornado had ripped their house apart just yesterday. Easton was shocked. He didn't know what to say. He understood they should go help his grandparents. In fact, he wanted to go help, but it didn't seem fair that he should be forced to give up his trip to Disneyland. He had dreamed about this trip for years, and his parents had finally purchased the airplane tickets. Who knew how long he'd have to wait for this opportunity again? Easton felt angry for the next 24 hours. Not at his parents, but at the situation. It was so unfair. However, that feeling of anger melted away when he arrived in his grandparents' town and saw the devastation caused by the tornado. Suddenly, he realized that he had a lot to be thankful for. First and foremost, his grandparents were unharmed, and that was the most important thing. So this story could have multiple themes, and most stories could have multiple themes. As long as you can support it with evidence from the story, it's okay. If you and I have different themes, we can both support them. We can both be correct. So one theme could be thankful for what you have. Yeah, Easton didn't get to go to Disneyland, but at least he still had a house, his grandparents, and then he said the grandparents' town was completely devastated. So it could be thankful for what you have. It could also be it's important to help others in their time of need. Easton's grandparents really needed their help, so it was important for them to help in their time of need. Could also be the safety of the people you love is the most important thing. Yeah, Easton probably would have loved going to Disneyland, but the safety of his grandparents was more important than that. So that one could have several different themes. This will be the last one we read, and it's a little bit longer. And a lot of times in your books, like your big novels, there will be several themes. So there might be one overall theme for the whole book, but each chapter might have a different theme. Wyatt and his parents were at the restaurant waiting for their meals to be delivered. As they waited, Wyatt's dad was pointing out the 10 things he had done wrong during the football game that afternoon. Wyatt always dreaded this post-game ritual where his dad, a retired professional football player, listed everything he did wrong during the game. In fact, Wyatt's dad was so focused on pointing out Wyatt's mistakes that he didn't immediately notice that a boy and his father had approached the table. "I'm sorry to interrupt your meal, but I was wondering if I could have your autograph," the boy asked Wyatt's father. "Of course, buddy," Wyatt's dad replied kindly. "What would you like me to sign?" As the boy handed Wyatt's dad his baseball cap, the boy's father went on and on about what a gifted player his son was and how proud he was of his son. Boy, Wyatt thought to himself, that kid is so lucky. It must be nice to have a father who thinks you're great and doesn't point out every single mistake you make. They spoke for a few more minutes until the servers arrived at Wyatt's table with their food. After the boy and his father returned to their own table, Wyatt's father went right back to critiquing his son's performance on the football field. When Jeff and his father returned to their own table, they discussed how unfriendly Mr. Matthews had been. Jeff's father began to tell Jeff about the unfortunate injury that resulted in an early retirement for Mr. Matthews. So Jeff's the boy, and Mr. Matthews is Wyatt's dad. Boy, Jeff thought to himself, that kid is so lucky. It must be nice to have a father who knows so much about football. I bet Mr. Matthews is able to give his son helpful pointers all the time. I think I said how they discussed how unfriendly he'd been. I meant how friendly. So Wyatt's thinking, gosh, that kid's so lucky. I wish I had his dad. It would be nice to have his dad who doesn't point out every mistake you make. And then Jeff's thinking, gosh, Wyatt's so lucky. It must be nice to have his dad who knows everything about football and can give him help. So the theme of that could be that everybody has different situations. Everybody has different challenges. We don't understand the challenges that people face, so we shouldn't judge people because we don't know what they're going through. So that could be your theme. Don't judge others because you don't know what they're going through. Jeff didn't know that Wyatt's dad critiqued everything. Wyatt didn't know that Jeff's dad didn't know anything about football and couldn't help him. So we don't know everything about each other, so we should not judge and critique. So your theme, take it back. Your theme is the message in the story. It is not specific to any one character or one story, and it's something that you could apply. It's like a rule or a saying that you could apply in your life. So theme is something, it's not the topic of the story, and theme is something that can cross many cultures. So no matter what your culture is, what you believe, and what your culture's systems and their processes are, themes are the same and they can be applied and understood in lots of different cultures. So they're not specific to cultures. And then in your lesson 3 that you're getting ready to read, you are going to read the story of Peter Cottontail. So you'll read Peter Cottontail. You also have a fable, The Shepherd Boy and the Wolf, that you're going to read. And you're going to try and figure out the theme. Part of it is figuring out the theme. Another part of it is you have to be able to support that theme with evidence from the text. So I know this could be the theme because, and you've got to pull something from the text. What did you read that supports that theme? Think about, and you likely did a race response when you were in 3rd grade. Restate, answer, cite, explain. Think about what you could cite from the story that helps to support your theme.